let's be real. Israel's not trying to be real with the numbers. Like, they don't even know how much, like, of Hamas they killed. And if that's the point, and you're just looking at these niggas like, you what? It's like, hold on. You did all this, and you can't give me direct numbers? Like, oh, I'm be real with you, G. You kind of playing us.
Man, let's be honest. If they was to throw out the real number, the world would be shocked. The world would be shocked, bro. Oh my God. So they damn near hiding the true number just to keep the peace for real.
What percentage of a population has to be killed before we can use the word genocide? It's a funny little thing. They won't tell you what constitutes genocide. So I would like a clear understanding of how many Palestinians have to die before we are allowed to term it a genocide. All of the experts can't agree on what a genocide actually is, but they love to float around the word on virtually every other issue. You know, I had Rabbi Barclay on my show, on one of my last shows when I was on the Daily Wire, and I asked him that question pointedly: what is genocide? Let us know, experts, what percentage of the population of Palestine?
I don't know, maybe if we hit over 1 million, it's a genocide?
I mean, but isn't that gonna only be comparative and relative to the size of the size of the people?
How much people died in the last genocide?
Well, shit. I mean,
actually, we have to look up. Just document.
The Palestinians are a smaller race than the Israeli people. Then taking out 1 million Israelis is not the same as taking out a million Palestinian people.
Yeah, but
comparatively.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a good question. Let's get a good number on it.
Okay.
Palestinians has to be killed before we are allowed to say that it's genocide. What I can tell you is I am completely uncomfortable and utterly against the amount of Palestinian innocent lives that have been lost in this conflict, particularly children. And any person who is fearful of stating that the death of innocent children has been utterly unacceptable is a coward.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I completely agree. But do you personally think it constitutes genocide, which is the deliberate?
What I'm saying to you is I can tell you pursued on my show.
Yeah.
What is the number?
No, I understand.
What is the official number? That's it. I mean, somebody tell me, and I'll give you an answer.
Well, I don't think there is a specific.
Try it when you have.
Well, it's not about a number.
Tons of people on both sides of the debate on.
Yeah, but it's not.
No. What do you mean it's not a number?
Here's my answer.
And do they give you an answer?
Well, no, because here's the point. It's not about specific numbers.
Honestly, just off the definition, genocide is a deliberate destruction of a nation, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, either in part or its entirety.
Yeah, we got a couple of them going on actually right now.
So it's not even a matter of it being a certain number that you have to hit or a goal that you're trying to hit. It's just when you deliberately, intentionally, attack a group or a race of people. It can almost be simplified to that. What you guys said.
Well, there's another genocide going on still, like pretty much 2016 to present, and it's estimated to about 9,000 to 13,000 has been killed in just civilians, and at highest they're saying about 43,000. And this is the Rohingyua genocide or Rohingya, I don't know, but it's some Muslim people that are dying.
Damn.
Yeah, a whole lot of them.
So this shit happens, y'all. It's not just the Palestinian people, but it's a real thing, and you do have modern day genocides, and we need to start calling them out. And I definitely think that with the Palestinian people, Hamas, whatever you want to call them, I think that what they're going through right now could only be looked at as genocide.
About an intent.
But it has to be.
Well, no, it's not. It's about an intent to eradicate.
That's not true, Piers, because in America, they say that Native Americans, it was a genocide committed by white men. This is what they say, right?
No, but I'm talking about the definition of a genocide is.
But what I'm telling you is that would be incorrect because the majority of Native Americans died from smallpox. It was accidental. Some 90% of Native Americans that lived here died from smallpox, and it's considered a genocide.
No, I understand. I'm telling you what the definition of genocide is, which is not about a specific number in any circumstance. It's about an intent to target and eradicate a whole people based on their ethnicity.
I'm disputing that by telling you that they legally say within America that Native Americans, a genocide was committed against Native Americans. Factually speaking, 90% of them, 90 to 93% of them died from smallpox. So it was actually an epidemic, right? So is the definition shifting? Because it is my understanding from Rabbi Barclay that the definition of anti-Semitism shifts. So maybe the definition of genocide has shifted, but genocide.
Well, let me read you the
exact.
Let me read you the exact wording and see whether you think it applies to. Well, let me read you the exact. definition of genocide from the Oxford English Dictionary: the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. So by that definition, do you believe that is what's happening to the Palestinian people and is being perpetrated by Israel?
Well, I would say is that Israel has proven in the past that they can be very specific when they want to get somebody out, whether that's a hostage or any other certain military operation. And what I am seeing happening, forgetting the specific language of a genocide, is something that I'm using my platform to speak out against, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me what the media calls me. I've had every headline. I do not believe that they are being careful in what they are doing. I think it has been it seems to me that the destruction of the hospitals and the schools and of the UN buildings. Would you say, Piers, that you believe that's unintentional?
I do not believe Israel's waging genocide. I think that
you believe, but I'm asking you, do you believe that the targeting going in the hospital
well, no, I'll
is
be clear with you.
intentional?
I can answer the question. I have said repeatedly in the last few weeks and months that I think the proportionality of Israel's response is now unacceptable, and particularly since they decided to go into Rafah, a refugee camp that they set up to then target Hamas in the middle of a refugee camp, where you're bound to kill so many innocent civilians in the process.
And bro, and here's the thing, that they always frame it under the guidelines of but they always put on the guidelines of, oh, Hamas was there. Oh yeah, Hamas was in the hospital. Hamas was in the refugee camp that we set up. It's like,
well, they said from the beginning of the operation that Hamas is any fighting age male. So I mean, bro, that could be your son, your kid, your nephew.
Bro, majority of the Palestinians are like kids. So,
exactly,
man.
And that's like what, 10 and up almost. Man. Like, bruh.
I think is unacceptable. But I'm just curious, given that you tweeted about genocide and no government ever has a right to do it, whether by your calculation from that definition, what Israel is doing is deliberately killing a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group.
Yeah, well, what I can say to you, again, because these definitions shift, I don't think we need to focus on the word, because I'm telling you what I believe. And my belief is that they are not being careful whatsoever. My belief is that there has been too much loss of Palestinian life.
But that's different to genocide, though.
Yeah, but okay, that's fine. We don't need to. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why you're like obsessing over this one word. It doesn't matter.
Well, because you tweeted about genocide.
You told me.
I'm only trying to clear up.
The tweet is about Brian Mast. So you're harping on this issue. There's a lot more topics we should talk about. I'm being very clear in how I feel about this issue. The Israeli government is not being careful in how they're dealing with this. I agree with you that the amount of death has been completely unacceptable. When I tweeted that was back in November. So we're talking way more lives that have been lost. And that tweet was about Brian Mast. So
I get it. Now,
I could have never imagined the amount of dead Palestinian children that I would see on my X feed since then.
It's horrific.
You know, it's heartbreaking to me as a mother. It's horrific to me that the media seems almost complicit in the
like seeing kids under rubble though is just like, are you serious?
Lifeless bodies, like it's a mess, bro.
Like, looking at an entire city destroyed is like, yo.
Humanization of Palestinians.
Like doomsday
and I
over there
will
for some
not
reason.
be
crazy.
on that side, because at the end of the day, the hit pieces, the name calling, the anti-Semitism, the psychopathic language that seems to be coming out of people means nothing. And I want to make sure everybody knows this, right? At the end of the day, you are going to have to account to God for the things that you allowed, for the things that you were complicit in, and for the things that you did not have enough courage to state.
Okay.
The amount of death of Palestinian children has been unacceptable, full stop.
Okay.
Bibi Netanyahu, in my view, should not be given an invitation to Congress. I think it's unacceptable.
I agree.
Unacceptable.
I don't
and
think
to be clear, for whatever the reason, when it comes to the topic of Israel, it does seem that journalists are fearful to critique Israel.
Well, I'm not at all.
Why is that? Because I would say, Piers, that you too, you seem a little fearful to critique Israel and to want to always seem that you're coming across a little bit understanding of everything they're doing. What is it that makes journalists, corporate journalists?
Come on, Piers, you was on that. Do you condemn Hamas campaign for a little too long? Until people have to call you out, and you have to be like, okay, maybe I can play a little bit neutral here.
Fearful of saying, like, hey, you know, Israel has done a ton of things that have been very wrong.
Yes, and I have said they're wrong. I think Netanyahu should go. I think half of that cabinet should go, because some of them have definitely been using genocidal language. I think a lot of what Israel's been doing the last few weeks is completely unacceptable. But ultimately, I also, from the start of this conflict, believe that Israel not only had a right to defend itself after the terror attack on October the 7th, but a fundamental duty to its people. And here's where I'm just curious about your tweeting through this procedure, this whole war, because on October the 7th, you didn't tweet anything. You didn't tweet anything on October the 8th. And October the 9th, you tweeted, so much world peace ever since we got the orange man out of office. So glad the adults are back in charge. A lot of people say, well, if you care this much about innocent people being killed, why didn't you say anything when 1,200 people were massacred to death in the most brutal, barbaric manner in this awful terror attack by Hamas, and nearly 7,000 more were wounded, some of them catastrophically and irreparably? Why did that not compel you to say anything?
Well, first and foremost, Israel's a foreign country, so typically I talk about topics that have to do with America. Secondly, you're only quoting my Twitter.
Ooh, that's a very good point, though. Like, yeah. It's like, yeah, she is America first, so the only times you were really talking about Israel is because, well, not one is they are supposedly committing genocide, allegedly, but two, that we're funding this. Actually, we just gave them about over $20 billion to do what? Well, possibly we funded genocide. It's supposedly.
Feed. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. I also had a date.
Suitcases full of money or cash bags full of money with the money sign on it. Nah, it's in weapons, military equipment, tanks, that type of shit. And we're sending it over there. Oh, yeah. That's our assistance. That's when all this budgeting for
and of course we're gonna
aid comes in.
And of course we're gonna wire over a couple bill. Of course, you know us.
Daily podcast in which I did respond directly about what happened and called the events horrific multiple times. Said what Hamas did was absolutely horrific. So you're using a snapshot of my Twitter feed where you're acknowledging that I didn't tweet for days to suggest that I didn't have anything to say about what had happened. Now, to be clear, I am consistent on all matters. I do not want America involved whatsoever in anything that is happening in Israel. I don't want my dollars sent over to Israel. We should not be supporting Israel. Obviously, Thomas Massey has done a lot of work showing how it doesn't even make economic sense that we have so much debt and yet we're sending money over to support Israel. And the biggest issue, by the way, that I have with Israel in talking about them being above reproach is the fact that they are supplying the arms to murder Christians. Okay. In Armenia, the oldest Christian country in the world, and yet nobody talks about that. For whatever reason, it seems to be the circumstance that when Jewish people die in Israel...
It is crazy. Like, Zelensky is against Christians, though. It is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Jewish religion, it's kind of like...
Hold on,
real. It's
you said the J word.
Wall-to-wall coverage.
But hey...
But when Christians die all over the world, nobody talks about it. Everyone wants to correlate everything to World War II. Everyone wants to talk about Adolf Hitler and rightfully so, he was a horrific person. But nobody wants to talk about Henryk Yagoda, right? Nobody wants to talk about the Bolsheviks. Nobody wants to talk about the Christian Holocaust. I am tired of the media, exhausted of the media not speaking about what is happening to Christians all around the world. And it is especially horrific while at the exact same time that it is happening, the slaughter of Christians in Armenia, the arms being supplied by Israel, that the media turns the other way and says, oh, okay, but what about Israel? What about what's happening in Israel? So you know what I'm asking for? Actual equality. Okay, because it seems like this is like a special category, the special relationship that we have. I'm a Christian first, okay? And so my concerns are going to be with what's happening to Christians all around the world, because it is us. We are the #1 most persecuted religion in the world. And all Christians watching this need to realize the time is now to start speaking up. Because
all right, Candace. Now, we didn't let her go on her Christ crusade for a little bit.
She was cooking.
Yes, she was. We all do love the Christ Crusaders. As long as I keep spreading the good virtues. Let's go to the conspiracies and Bridget Macron. Because, yeah.
100% of experts agree. That is,
let me ask you a question.
As soon as somebody tells you there's 100% scientific consensus, they are lying to you.
Let me ask you. Can you name me one professional doctor or scientist who genuinely believes, like you, that the COVID vaccines did not save a single life?
I can point you to many because there are anti-vax doctors.
Can you name one?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to point you to an entire website because this is actually important because RFK Jr. has played a very large role in my awakening about vaccines and my decision not to vaccinate my children. I recommend you go to the long list of doctors. childrenshealthdefense.org. That is his charity.
Yeah.
And they have multiple doctors listed. You can also go to Dr. Green Mom's website if you want a list of doctors who do not vaccine your children, because just so you know, they are vaccinating your children because it is profit for them. It is a profit incentive for every child that is vaccinated. I want to be clear, I'm talking about America. I can't speak to the UK laws and the UK policies, but what we are living inside of is ECHO, when they wanted to have a marriage with the government in order to drug people. We achieved that here in the West. In America, CDC, they are corrupt. The
Candace,
FDA is corrupt. They have been poisoning your food.
Candace,
and if you believe that they...
She cooking, though. She cooking, though. She's like, they're poisoning your food. The FDA, you can't trust the FDA.
For the inquisitive minds, and if you're curious, go look at who's on some of the board of these pharmaceutical companies, these Pfizer boards, these Moderna boards. Go look at who's on the boards of the CDC and, you know, those type of people. And just tell me if you see a trend. Tell me if you notice anything.
Mandate. You were asking me a question. I'm answering it. I'm telling people where to go to if they'd like more
veering
information.
off into all sorts of other things. Let me just ask you on a more all-encompassing thing. Do you believe you're prone to promoting conspiracy theories?
I believe that I am aware where the entire term of conspiracy theory came from. Do you know when that became fashionable?
Tell me.
No. So the first time that was sort of entered into the lexicon, that was a CIA term. And this is also gets into, and you can look this up right now, Operation Mockingbird, after JFK was killed and the government started employing journalists to just repeat what they said.
Right.
And
what do you think happened to JFK?
In the waters.
He was shot. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah, but who by?
I have no idea.
You're trying to get a caught up.
Would you support any conspiracy theory about the JFK shooting?
Do you? I don't know.
You referenced it. I didn't reference it.
No, I was referencing it to tell you a historical point about Operation Mockingbird. And
so back to my original question. Do you think you promote?
Hold on, can I just finish my thought?
Man, JFK? We all know about that.
Conspiracy
theory. We can cover that on Rumble, don't want it. We'll cover that on Rumble.
Yeah.
Give me 5 seconds to respond.
Well, no, you don't.
So my question to answer you about the conspiracy theory before you're asking me about JFK getting shot.
You're giving me the history of conspiracy theories.
Oftentimes, what the media does, and I do believe that people watching the show are awake to this. This is why I'm very confident in this discussion of what I am telling them, is that they use